today? We're bantering.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. I see your Defcon shirt. Are you going to be there?
I am, yes. It's the one conference I'll always go to.
Oh.
But yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I was actually watching your video on like the tips. I think it was 10 tips for Defcon. I watched that entire thing because we're going.
I need to release a new one. There's an updated one this year because the venue's changed and like the hotels are all far from, well, most of the hotels are far from the venue. I managed to snag a room at the Marriott, so I've got like a 90-second walk to the venue, which is quite good. But yeah.
He getting the VIP treatment. He got early release on the hotel rooms.
Didn't everyone get early release on the hotel rooms? No? Okay. I don't know. I have no idea. So actually, I do have an additional question about Defcon. I just don't remember what it was. So we'll just breeze past it. All right. So do you know what's about to happen before we jump into the actual like interview portion of the show?
I have an inkling. This is the bit that I'm just going to miserably fail on, so we'll get it over with.
Oh, no.
The 90s R&B, right?
Yes, sir. All right. So you are tapped in. So
I'm just gonna say, like, I have a list of 28 R&B artists. I'm just gonna randomly choose one because I have no idea. Music is not my thing.
That's okay. It sounds like at least you'll be above saying Harry Styles or Boyz II Men.
Oh no, wait a minute. Let me cross him off the list.
All right, right on. All right, so for those who don't know, we're about to play That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. Shout out to Jimmy Fallon. Still waiting. All right, so here are the rules. We're going to play 4 songs. Each of those songs, you either have to identify the artist or the name of the song. If you can identify both, then that's a total flex, but the points are still the same. So, am I missing anything, Tiffany? Oh, you get 3 guesses. No?
No, you're good.
Oh, hit them all. Okay. All right, so let's do it. Song number 1.
I can't remember why we fell apart from something that was so meant to be. Yeah. Forever was the promise in our hearts. Now more and more I wonder where you are.
I see you swaying, Anthony.
Do I ever cross your mind anytime?
Right. This is the hard one because I can't tell if that was a female voice or just a guy with a slightly high voice.
Okay, so for copyright reasons, we have to have a singer of our choice to sing these songs, so they're covers. So it could be.
Oh, okay, they're all covers.
Yes.
Gotcha. Right. That makes this significantly hard. Okay, I'm gonna pick Usher.
I think you hurt her feelings.
So actually, close. All right, it was
Close.
Brian McKnight, Anytime. So
That's 2 down from Usher on my list. I was so close.
oh my goodness. All right, song number 2.
Come with me, don't you worry. I'm gonna make you crazy. I'll give you the time of your life. I'm gonna take you places you've never been before, and you'll be so happy that you came. Oh, I'm gonna take you there. Oh, that's the way love goes. That's the way
I think I
love
know the
goes.
song.
Hey.
Well, no, I don't know the name of the song. And I don't know the name of the song. Right, let's see. Who am I going to choose? I'm just going to go Mariah Carey. There we go. That's a name I recognize.
Okay.
I mean, we could say close again.
It was pretty close.
Jan-
Wait. Oh, go ahead.
It's all right. Just give me 0 points. It's fine.
Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson. Okay, all right.
Yeah. At least, but what's crazy though is, I mean, the last one was a male singer. You picked a male. This one's a female. So, I mean, I've seen
I'm
worse.
getting lucky. Yeah.
All right. So we got 2 more. Song number 3.
God knows that you're a sexy thing. It's taking everything in me.
I honestly had never heard this song before today.
Not to kiss you over, under, feel you inside, feel my thunder. How the hell could I not want you? Girl, it don't have to be a thing.
Tiffany knows this one apparently.
I wait for you, you wait for me, baby. 'Cause true love's insisting we don't have to rush at all, baby.
At this point, he just like I honestly did not know this song before today, so I'd be surprised if you do it.
Okay. I think I'm gonna guess a male again, just because he seems to be singing about a woman. So let's guess. I guess the guy Maxwell. I assume Maxwell's a guy.
What?
I don't know.
That would hurt my feelings. That would hurt my feelings.
I don't know who Maxwell is.
Oh no!
Turn it off. Turn it off and just turn the whole thing off. Who was it? That was
Drew Hill.
That was Drew Hill.
Yeah. Those
Okay.
are the times.
Yeah.
I don't think I even have him on my list. So was it a guy though?
It's
Yeah.
a group. Yeah, it's a group.
Do you remember?
It's a group. Okay.
Do you remember Cisco, the guy who sang Thong Song?
Dong, 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 dong.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, he was part of Drew Hill. But yeah. All right.
Okay, gotcha.
Song number 4, final song.
A lonely mother gazing out of the window, staring at a son that she
God.
just can't touch. If at any time he's in a jam, she'll be by his side, but he doesn't realize he hurts her so much.
He knows this one.
But all
I know
the
the song, yeah.
praying just ain't helping at all, 'cause he can't seem to keep himself out of trouble. So he goes out and he makes his money the best way he knows how. Another body laying cold in the gutter. Listen to me.
I'm gonna guess Destiny's Child just because I feel like it's a group. Is it Destiny's Child?
No!
No.
But you were
Damn it.
close. You were really close. It is a group. I want to give you one more guess. I want to give you you have 3 guesses. I think you know this one. You know this one.
I always want to start singing.
I
it.
really don't.
Okay. All right. It's TLC Waterfalls.
Oh yeah, I should have just guessed Waterfalls actually, shouldn't I? I could have probably figured that out.
Yeah, it's all good. You're not the first one to get 0, so you're amongst great company. We have another. How many other people have? We have 3 people that have 0 now, so it's all good.
I came close on some.
You did. Like, to be honest, like, you were male, female group. So, I mean, you were in there like swimwear. So, all right. So, let's go ahead and get started and get into what people actually care about. All right. So if it's your first time here, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I'm Jordan, aka Jay, aka The Chosen One, aka Big Stepper, and I am here with my co-host.
And I'm Tiffany B. We are excited that you're here to join us for another episode of the Stats on Stats podcast, where we get to speak to leaders in the cyber, IT, technology, all of those spaces. Speaking of those leaders, we have someone here who's going to introduce himself to you, tell us where he's from, where he is currently, how long he's been in his role, and what that role is. So,
Yeah, thank you. I'm Tib3rius. I guess kind of awkward. I'm currently unemployed, but I am basically I am a pen tester, web application pen tester. I have been since 2012, so long time in the industry. Currently between roles.
okay, awesome.
I think he's the first person who we've had say they're unemployed.
How?
So that's a first. I love that for us. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you say you're unemployed, but you're always so busy. So, I mean,
Yeah.
for me, that opens up this interesting story about your journey. So, yeah, tell us, where you started and what your origin story is and how you came to where you are.
Yeah, well, I guess I mean, my origin story, I guess I was basically just a quote unquote regular pen tester for most of my career. And then I think it was slightly prior to the pandemic, I got into creating content. That was basically YouTube and streaming. And so I sort of built up a base from that. Prior to that, I'd created a few tools or courses for the OSCP exam. So I have a tool called AutoRecon, which a lot of students use on the exam, and I also created a couple of privilege escalation courses. So prior to becoming a content creator, that was sort of what I was kind of known for. But yeah, basically pandemic era, I transitioned into doing live streams a few times a week, making YouTube videos, etc. And yeah, that's what I continue to do more often now because of no job.
Okay, awesome. You're saying you do content, YouTube, and can you break down, I think because a lot of our viewers and listeners are kind of new to the space or enthusiasts or learning about, IT cyber. So could you talk about, you mentioned the OSCP exam and then penetration testing. So just kind of give them an idea of like what your day-to-day is in those trainings.
Yeah. So the OSCP is basically, it's kind of the main exam for pen testing right now. It has been for a long time. I think that's going to change in the next few years. But yeah, it's generally a cert that most HR departments at least will ask for on your resume if you're trying to get a job in pen testing. It's a 24-hour exam. You have to basically, well, back when I took it, you had to basically defeat, I think, 5 boxes in that 24 hours and then write a report. Nowadays, there's an Active Directory portion of it. So it's slightly more complicated, but you basically get 24 hours to do that, 24 hours after that to write the report. And then you pass. And it's an exam that technically is, once you've passed it, you don't have to retake it at any point. So you have it on your resume for life if you want. But it's seen as a way into the industry for pen testing, just because so many companies want it, and it's a proof that you at least know how to handle, I guess, high pressure and be able to hack things. So that's what the OCP is anyway. And ironically, I actually got that quite late in my career. Because back in 2012, honestly, it was much easier to get into cybersecurity, and I like to say I tripped and fell into cybersecurity. But so I found a company that was willing to take me on as a junior with absolutely no experience and kind of just train me up. And I moved on. I think about 6 or 7 years later, I took the OSCP. So I was already kind of like quite experienced by that point. I was already like a senior. So yeah, that's basically when I took it and when I realized that, well, actually, there's some portions of this exam that should be automated, and also it doesn't really teach privilege escalation as much. So that's when I started doing that.
Did you always know you wanted to get into cybersecurity? Like, is that something as a youth you were just like, I'm going to do cybersecurity, I'm going to do pen testing? Like,
that is a good question. I was always into computers. I don't think anyone's asked me this question before, actually, which is quite cool because, yeah, I was always into computers, but I was so close to becoming an English major. It's hilarious. So I actually had applied to a university to do English, and then I didn't get in. So like I failed like the kind of like entrance exam kind of thing to get into the English degree. And so that was like, and then I realized like, I don't really want to do English. So I took like a year off and just reapplied to do computer science. Because luckily at high school, and what we would call high school in the UK, I had done a math sort of course as well. So the math course really helped get me into the actual computer science program. From that point, it was basically just computer science. And then at the end of the first year at university, they were like, well, you can decide to like minor in something if you want in the remaining years. And one of those minors was information security, which I think at the time there were only like 2 universities in the UK that did information security. So yeah, I was like, okay, that sounds cool. So I'll do that. And then after that, I got a master's in information security from the same university. So it was kind of weird. Like I could have definitely ended up in a non-tech role. But luckily, I guess fate had other plans, and here I am.
That's dope. I guess I don't want to get us too far off track, but now I have a follow-up question to that. So what initially drew you to the idea of being an English major?
I don't really know. It's so long ago now. A big and dumb teenager.
All right. Let me guess, you were reading some poetry and a girl liked it and you were like, I'm going to do this forever.
Nothing so romantic. No.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness.
No, I think I honestly just I always liked English as a class, like reading and analyzing the books and stories. So I kind of saw that as a thing to do. I think I was at the time just like I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And, I was like, well, I like English. And so I might as well get a degree in English. And yeah, luckily I like computers as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
When you think back to, I guess, that time as you were going through school and everything, and or like, okay, I tripped and fell into this kind of technology space, were there times where you're like just running into mishaps or, just while you were, I guess, falling into this realm of a career or a role, were there times where you just like ran into interesting experiences that you look back now and you're like, if I had known these things then, like I could have been so far ahead?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can do. I think there's a danger in thinking that, like, because you can always say, oh, if only I'd done this path, like, I could have done this sooner or something. But yeah, can't change time. So like, I'm just glad I ended up where I ended up.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to look back at things. I think, like, obviously learning from mistakes is good. But yeah, I try not to focus on like, oh, I wish I'd done this at this time, because we're only here once, so really no point in thinking about it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I really like that. So, man, okay, I'm all over the place, but now I also have questions about Twitch. How did you get into live streaming? How did that, because I feel like there's a difference between, I know you have courses, right? I've seen a couple of them, which is cool, but you're like, you have time to rehearse and practice and do all that. Where do you find like the energy and the confidence and the just like YOLO nature of doing like live streaming?
I actually prefer live streaming because, like, I don't know. So I feel like I'm kind of a perfectionist, and so my YouTube videos are like all scripted and they take so long to write and edit, and I want everything to be perfect. And I guess streaming, there's no such thing as a perfect stream. Like, it's impossible to have a perfect stream. Something's going to go wrong. You're basically ad-libbing. So it kind of forces me to be out of my comfort zone a little bit. And I like that because it also shows people, like, so many people on YouTube watch all these great creators, and I'm not dissing any of them, but like, all of our YouTube videos are really well done. So we almost come across like, oh my goodness, they're so clever. They know all this stuff. And if you watch any of us live streaming, we'll just get stuck for hours trying to solve a box, and our humanity comes through. And then you realize, oh, this guy who's been in the industry over 10 years now gets stuck on this little box that, because he missed something 2 hours ago, which if he just looked at would have been like, oh yeah, okay, that. So I kind of like that because it does humanize a lot of creators, and I think that's important in this day and age as well, with cybersecurity getting so popular. It's hard, or it's very easy to think, oh, I'm just not good enough, not clever enough to get into this. Like, look at all these clever people, and it's like, no, honestly, we're not. We're idiots. we make the same mistakes as everybody else. So yeah, we all suffer from imposter syndrome. But going back to like what you originally said, how did I get into it? That was actually one of my friends. He goes by Al Hazred on stream. I think he's actually streaming right now. But yeah, so he really got me into it. He started streaming like about a year before I did, and was really enjoying it. So he recommended me to do it. So I'm eternally grateful he did that.
Bruh, I feel like you like hacked my phone because we were literally having this conversation on the way here as to like why we started this podcast in the beginning, right? Because there's so many content creators out there that they're producing like mid to senior level content, which is great. We need that. But for people who are trying to get into the space, they're intimidated, right? they're watching these things. They're like, oh, have no clue what they're talking about. They know everything. Like, this is crazy. And, we wanted to create something where we're human, right? We have our guests on here. A lot of them are like, yeah, I'm still faffing, f***ing around and finding out, So, yeah. So it's just really funny that you mentioned that, because today was literally the first time that we ever talked about that. So, I'm okay if you hacked it. I'm not gonna take any legal action. I mean, it's cool, whatever. How do you come up with your content topics? How do you choose them?
That is a good question. For streaming, it honestly, because streaming is so like random already. I think I don't ever plan on doing anything on stream. I might have a vague idea, like on Wednesdays I have my Web App Wednesday stream, so we always do something with web apps. But generally, I let my chat, my viewers choose what we're going to do. I think that ends up being a bit better for them. But for like YouTube videos, it really depends. So it's usually just I come up with some ideas and I have like a massive Word document of like, hey, these are ideas that I'll hopefully probably get to at some point. And then it really depends on like what my mood is. Like, oh, I could make a video on that this week and write a script for it. So I think it's always like evolving. I try not to. I'm really terrible like following through with like projects. So like if I ever like have a video series, I know that I'm going to start it and I'm probably never going to end the damn thing. So I try and keep my my videos kind of unique and not in a particular like area or like a series. So yeah, I think that helps.
What have been some of your like, I guess, favorite moments over this time with streaming, with twitching, like connecting with people who are learning from your content? Can you think of any moments that you're like, this is exactly why I'm doing this?
Yeah, honestly, they usually happen at conferences, like going to Defcon and having people approach you and be like, "Hey, you Cybersecurity?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I passed my OCP because of you," and like, it's just like that. Like, I mean, I don't want to like claim credit for anyone's OCP and everything. Like, I'm always like, "No, you did it, man." But like, people are so thankful of just having the resources out there, especially like either for free or low cost. So it just really helps to see, the people that I've affected, and it just makes me happy that like there's people in this industry now because I decided, hey, one day I'll just create a tool or create a few courses or start streaming. So yeah, it honestly it pays dividends just seeing people, meeting people who have really just enjoyed my content or I've affected in some way. So I think that's the main thing.
You're talking about your tool. So would you mind telling us what that tool is? And, well, not me, but the listeners.
You could tell me too, because I honestly don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Dope.
Yeah, so obviously part of the OSCP is, but back when I did it, there were basically 5 machines. Oh, really 4, but you had to basically enumerate them, like enumerate the services and discover things on the services like vulnerabilities and stuff. And that's kind of a boring process. It's kind of repetitive, at least the actual information gathering stage. So a lot of us at the time were using there were like a few tools available that would kind of just automate everything. So they would like just launch nmap scans and then maybe launch other scans based on what the results were. There were a few tools that we were all using, but none of the three main ones did everything that I wanted. And so I thought, you know what, I can program, so why don't I just write a tool that does everything that I want it, that I want to do, and then use that on my OSCP and also like publish it. So that's what I did. The first version of AutoRecon was not good. So like a year later, I rewrote the entire thing almost from scratch. Now it's much better. It's more like modularized. It has plugin systems and everything. But yeah, the idea is it's to be exam legal, because obviously you aren't allowed to like auto exploit stuff on the OCP, but you're allowed to use enumeration, automatically enumerate stuff. So it basically just nmap scans things, it discovers the services, and then it basically does a bunch of pattern matching and says, oh, well, you're running HTTP on this port, so I'll run like a directory busting tool and a bunch of other things. But it's the main thing is that it's just fetching information. You still have to go and read the information. It does put it in a nice sort of file structure for that. So yeah, that's the main advantage of it, I think, is and why a lot of people like it.
I have a question. It's super random, but I must know. Because you're a penetration tester, I would imagine you've gotten hired to run pen tests on probably companies, organizations, whatever. Have you ever run a pen test and at the end of it, you hand them the report and they get real pissed at you and they're just like, nah, bruh, none of this is right?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you do in situations like that?
I mean, the it's difficult because like if a good report, if the report's like really good, it's hard to freaking argue. So often it's the developers that are doing that, and it's mostly because either they take it as like a personal affront that like I discovered a vulnerability in their system, and they see me as some kind of, I don't know, enemy. Whereas I have to like continually remind people like we're on your side. You guys hired us, right? And it's ultimately like it's not your fault. Sometimes like this stuff happens. You code bugs. Bugs exist. The point of the report is, hey, well, this is how you fix it, and this is how you prevent it in the future. Like, I don't think like I don't see myself as like a sort of an adversary of a developer. I think it's helpful for developers, and there are some developers, the vast majority, I would say, who are really appreciative of the reports and be like, oh, damn, yeah, I slipped up there. But there are definitely a few who I think possibly have ego issues and just take it far too personally. But like, yeah, the report should like if I'm able to enumerate stuff from your database, like that clearly I shouldn't be able to access, then it's difficult to sort of argue, well, you couldn't have done that. It's like, yeah, well, it's in the report. So like how else did I get it? Which is why evidence like in screenshots and even like proof of concept code is really important in reports generally.
I'm still trying to learn what I'm doing. And every time I watch these videos of like you and John Hammond or Heath Adams, I'm just like, I don't even know how to get through this enumeration part. Once I do, I don't know whether I'm banging my head against the wall because this isn't the right exploit. So I guess for me, I wonder if in the beginning, when you were starting out your journey, like were there ever moments, even for you, because I look at you and I'm like, there's no way, but even for you, like, can you think back of any moments where like maybe you weren't so sure that you were going down the right path or just that, or you weren't so sure about what you were doing? And then how did you overcome those moments and just continue moving forward?
Yeah, no, definitely. That happens to this day. Like imposter syndrome is is one of the cornerstones of this industry, unfortunately. I think it's interesting because we train pen testers using boxes that we know are vulnerable, and then we send them out into the real world where there are boxes that aren't vulnerable. But you still have to test. So yeah, there are times where you'll like for me, I do web application security, right? So there are times where I will be testing a web app and it'll just be a very simple web app and they've coded it well and there's nothing wrong with it. There are minor issues like, oh, you know, the server, whatever headers there, you know, I'll put that in the report as an informational and everything. But like, yeah, you always wonder, well, you know, is the app really secure or am I just really bad at my job? And like, that's the problem is like, generally speaking, if you go on Hackbox or Try Hack Me or any of these like web labs or web academies, everything's vulnerable, and you know it's vulnerable from the get go. So it's more of there's a different attitude because you know you have to keep going until you find something. Whereas in regular pen testing, you keep going, and the real lesson you need to learn is when to give up and when to realize, oh yeah, actually there's nothing here. So you know, I think that's probably one of the main causes of imposter syndrome is, you know, that kind of there's a false dichotomy, I guess. That then, you know, so you suffer for imposter syndrome for like maybe a few weeks or even a few months, thinking, you know, I'm never going to find real vulnerabilities again, and then like the next week or the next test, you'll find like 20 SQL injections. You'll be like, oh, okay, I'm fine. So it's always good to have that first test after like a long like series of just tests where you found absolutely nothing, and you completely destroy the application is always a good feeling. You're like, oh, there we go. I'm good. I'm not a bad tester.
All I can think of when you say like there are times when there's just nothing wrong is like somebody going through this whole process of pen testing, and then at the end they hand a blank piece of paper to the customer like, you're welcome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, customers are weird. They're either very happy with that or very upset.
You didn't find anything?
If you've built up a good trust relationship with a customer and you hand them practically a blank report, they're generally quite happy. If they're a new customer and you hand them a blank report, they're incredibly suspicious. But that's when you get on the call and be like, well, I did all this and this is how I approached the application, and like there was like nothing there, so. You got to kind of argue why I didn't find anything and why you paid all this money for basically an almost empty report. But yeah.
You just like, you're handing it to them. Here's your paper. Where's mine? I love that. So I have another question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So because, again, what you do, I would imagine requires you to be super tapped into emerging trends. How do you stay tapped in?
Yeah. That's a big one. I honestly, these days, I find social media, there's some really good communities online, especially like on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it. But like LinkedIn is also a good one now. So I think honestly, if you're following the right kinds of people on social media, and even if you have like a regular social media account, always have like I guess a cybersecurity social media account just so you can follow the trends, because like we love talking about this stuff. Like, Friday, everyone was talking about the XZ like backdoor. So like there was no way if you were on cybersecurity social media this weekend, there was no way you could have just woken up Monday morning, what's XZ? Like everybody knows about it now. Like that's literally what happened. So yeah, I think that's probably the best place to go, especially like YouTube as well. If you're subscribed to a bunch of the content creation channels, we try and I think broadly cover as much as possible. There's some really good security podcasts as well. So there's a ton of resources these days. It's almost better than it was 10 years ago in terms of finding out stuff.
Do you have a top 3 in terms of people? And you can't list yourself, but do you have like a top 3 that you follow on social media?
That's a hard question. I got like a top 30.
I mean, we could do 5.
It's hard. It really is hard because if I could name 3 people, I'd probably leave them out. Let's do John Hammond for sure. Probably Katie from Insider PhD. She's definitely worth following. And let's round off with Nahamsek. I think if I was forced at like gunpoint to name top 3 in terms of like content creation, and then I realized they are all, well, John Hammond's not really web app focused, but like they all do deal with web apps a lot. But I think that they're probably my main 3 that I would definitely follow.
I like that. Just to be clear for future guests, there are no guns. So, all right, go ahead, Tiff. I know you have some questions.
Okay, I want to stay in, I guess, in pen testing because I have so many questions when it comes to like, how do you become like you, right? Anyway, but methodology development, right? It's a key component, penetration testing, and can you think of what you feel like helped you the most with creating like your most successful methodology for what you do?
Yeah, I think honestly but I can really only speak to web applications.
Absolutely.
I do web applications. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you learn how to at least like develop basic web applications and you sort of dive into like the back end sort of stuff, I think that makes you a better web tester just because you kind of understand the flow of information through the web application. And so you can kind of visualize it a bit better. So I would say that and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to become a full stack dev or anything like that. But I think understanding how web applications work at that kind of level is really useful. Other than that, most of it, honestly, it really sucks, I think, asking any senior. I think that's the one question that senior pen testers, when they do interviews, that is the one question they fear the most. It's like, can you explain your methodology? And I'm like, no, not really. It's like instinct, kind of. Like it's like I've tested so many web applications at this point. and they're all different, and you can say, okay, well, you start off enumerating stuff, and that might be, doing directory busting, looking through source code, reading JavaScript, but it's mostly just exploring the application in one window, having like Burp Suite in another, glancing across the requests being sent, and like spotting something, or spotting a piece of functionality and thinking, hey, that looks interesting, let me go see what that does for a bit. So yeah, it is really difficult trying to describe a methodology. I think you just develop one over time naturally. Everyone's methodology is different. That's the thing. That's why you can have two pen testers attack the same application and kind of find different things in like a short amount of time. Like you might not find everything, and no customer should ever expect to find everything in a time limited test anyway. But yeah, there are different things that different people find, and that's just generally due to what stands out to you. So it's honestly, it just comes with working in the industry so long and just seeing different applications. And especially, it's really good if early on, and you obviously can't control this, but early on in your career, you have applications which are really vulnerable to stuff, because then you sort of learn techniques as you go, and you remember, oh, I saw the same kind of behavior from this application I tested last year. And then you can go sort of read up on the report from that and say, oh yeah, okay, I'll try this now. So I think that's also really useful. That's kind of hard to do. You can't ask a customer for, hey, can you give me your vulnerable applications, please? They're like, that's your job, isn't it? Yeah, damn.
No, actually, that is a really perfect answer for me, I think, because in trying to figure it out, you're always trying to do, or I guess I feel like there's always moments where I'm like, okay, they're doing these things to hack this box, and I can't even think in that direction, but I was thinking about trying these other three things. And for me, sometimes it feels like, because my thought process doesn't follow that same tree, I'm not going to create the methodology I need for, like building out and being a great and successful penetration tester. So it's great to hear you say, like, well, realistically, all of that comes over time, and you don't have to worry about kind of not having sort of the same process or workflow that somebody else is having, even though that might be somebody that you definitely follow and you respect in the world. So I appreciate that.
The question people really want to know, you're at a restaurant, they have no physical menus. You scanning the QR code or not?
Yeah, I generally am. That is a difficult one, I guess. I think, like, I don't have I use an iPhone, so I just use the camera app. I can try and keep up with all the latest, like, iOS exploits. So the chances of a 0-day QR code vulnerability in the Apple thing being like exploited at a random restaurant I'm at, I'll play the risk game and just take that risk, I think. Yeah, I think that's more with like I know there was for years there were like custom apps that were kind of vulnerable and did all these redirects and stuff. So I think I don't use custom QR code scanning apps anymore, but yeah, the built-in iPhone 1 I'll use most of the time.
Fair enough. You hear that, ladies and gentlemen. It is okay to scan the QR code at Applebee's. All right. So here's the next scenario. Kid walks up to you, got a little runny nose going on, but he's real eager. He's just like, hey, Mr. Tiberius, I want to be just like you when I grow up. What do I have to do? What's the advice you give that little runny nose kid?
Well, stay in school for sure. I think education is really important in this. Although saying that, I know it with bug bounty, it has opened opportunities for people who perhaps didn't get a chance to go to college. So that's always good. Honestly, it's an attitude I think you have to have. You have to really want to do cybersecurity. You have to be really passionate about it, and you have to understand that it's not a 9-to-5 job, in the sense that when you go home, you can just kind of relax and stuff. You got to be passionate about it. You got to be learning, and that learning doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to feel like work. But like I said, if you're just active on social media, you're kind of absorbing information, in your spare time anyway. So I think that's really important. But yeah, we're not saying, hey, you have to be working 24/7 or whatever. But yeah, have some downtime, but also watch YouTube videos on cybersecurity and just keep learning and keep playing around. Like mess with stuff, create tools, like create a GitHub, create your own projects because honestly that looks good on a resume anyway. So I that's my advice. But also, yeah, just try and get into as many sort of educational programs as you can. There are obviously a great number of resources out there now that are either free or low cost to like get into cybersecurity. So I think there's never been a time where we haven't, we've got so much like opportunity for newcomers than now.
What do you do? Right? You're always learning, you're giving out content, you're training. What do you do when you're like, it's time for me to unwind, unplug, and just ground myself?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't. No, I like enjoy just listening to just random music on Spotify occasionally. Like I'll watch a few like non-cybersecurity YouTube channels. I will solve. So this is gonna be a weird one, but I like solving kind of like advanced Sudoku variants. So like there are Sudokus out there that have no numbers on them and really bizarre rule sets that you can still solve. So yeah, I like doing those. I also find honestly lockpicking is a very relaxing. And if you've never done lockpicking before and you're going to Defcon this year, you should definitely check out Lockpicking Village because it's a blast. It's the best village at Defcon in my opinion. But yeah, so I love lockpicking. I think that's just something as well. You can sort of watch a YouTube video and sort of just pick a lock. So or even watch a movie. So that's kind of what I do to relax, which is probably extremely weird, but whatever.
I have 2 follow-up questions to that. The first one being, are you talking about like physical locks?
Yeah. Yeah, like padlocks. Like
I saw that at B-Sides. They had a room.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, that's gangster. All right, cool. And then my next question is, aside from 90s R&B, what other music do you listen to?
Right.
I think this is why like I'm terrible at music because I just honestly I don't think I really have a genre. Like there's songs I like from almost every genre, I feel like. And so if you look down my like starred list in Spotify, you'll be like, what, why is that there? Like, why is he listening to this random freaking track? So I like a bit of everything. Like, I guess kind of rock is like rock and punk music is kind of my main go-to, but at the same time, like there are definitely pop songs that I, have a guilty pleasure at listening to, and I do not mind. And also rap. I do like rap. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I take what Spotify. So every Monday and Friday when Spotify refreshes its random lists of like recommended songs, I'll just generally listen to them and start adding stuff to my liked list. And sometimes I'll remove songs if I'm like, yeah, that I don't know why I liked that at the time, but I think that's possibly why I'm not very good at remembering song names or artist names because I don't look at them anymore. It's like I don't buy CDs or like vinyl, right? I just have a Spotify list that is chaos. So that's probably why.
I promise this is the last off-topic question. I promise. Okay. What's your energy towards country Beyonce?
I don't think I've ever heard country Beyonce.
You haven't heard her new country album?
I haven't. Now I'm going to have to add it to Spotify and listen.
You're welcome.
I did listen to, who was it? Dolly Parton. I listened to Dolly Parton's non-country album.
What?
That was good. I like that.
That's a thing?
Yeah, she released a rock album because she was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yes, and she was like, why am I being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I'm not a rock star. So then she decided to do a rock album with a bunch of, like, she does it with a bunch of cameos from other people. Like, she's got Sting. She sings with Steve Tyler, Stevie Nicks, Joan Jett. So, like, a bunch of, like, rock kind of legends. She also does one with the Beatles. So Paul McCartney and Ringo. She has a song with them. Yeah, it's great. If you haven't listened to it, it's awesome. I love it.
I will check that out. Anthony, did you know about this?
No, I did not.
Wow.
It's cool. It's called Rockstar. It's really good. I really like it.
All right, I'm gonna check it out. I'll let you know at DEF CON how I felt.
You're going to Defcon. What other conferences are you like, go to these? These have been great in my experience.
So I can definitely say ShmooCon. So that's in January, and next year is actually the last one. So they announced it. Actually, this year in January was my first ShmooCon. It's incredibly difficult to get tickets for. They only sell, I think, 2,200 tickets. And there's a whole process, and you have to be like within the first like 7 seconds of visiting a website and type a code and everything. It's kind of complicated. However, I have a funny feeling that because next year is the last one, people are just gonna go to the hotel even if they don't have a ticket and maybe hope they can just like borrow somebody's badge. Because yeah, it's a really nice conference. It's small, but it doesn't feel too small. There's still a lot of tracks, a lot of talks, but it's just a nice. It's in DC as well, so you know DC's a nice city to visit as well. But yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I'm definitely, even if I don't get a ticket, I'm gonna go next year, and because just hanging out in the hotel lobby with a bunch of people, there's always hackers there, like just hanging out and chatting and doing stuff. So I think there's gonna be more than usual next year as well. So hopefully that'll be the case. I'm going to Hackspace Con next week, so I'm actually talking there. So yeah, Hackspace Con I've heard good things about as well. This is my first at Hackspace Con, but I know a bunch of people who've gone before. So I guess those are the conferences I can definitely speak about with some degree of confidence. But DefCon is wild, and if this is your first DefCon,
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna love it.
Awesome.
It's a great conference. Just I guess my main advice for DefCon is don't worry about missing out on stuff, because I feel like there's just too much to do. So figure out the stuff you actually want to go see and do that, but don't worry about missing out on things. It's a really nice experience though.
Awesome.
I've been trying to get tickets to ShmooCon for like 2 years and just never had any luck. But that sounds like a good hack. Just show up to the hotel.
I think next year a lot of people will. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the move. Also, we're going to be at Hackspace Con. Oh, I'll be at Hackspace Con. So
Awesome. I'll meet you there.
maybe. I'm sure I'm sure you have
I'm sure
like.
we'll run into each other.
Okay, I'm sure you have like a bunch of fans, like a fan club. Like when you go places, do people swarm you? They don't?
No.
Really?
No, thankfully.
Wow. There's a question on here that Tiffany actually had and forgot to ask before we have to wrap up, because Anthony likes to charge us extra if we go past an hour. But your nickname, yeah, how did you come up with it?
So it's like I've been asked this question before. It's a really boring answer, unfortunately, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, he likes Kirk or something," and no, I'm actually a Picard fan, but like I just like the name Tiberius. That's all. Like I knew it was a Roman emperor. Literally did no research into the Roman emperor. It turns out he's a bit of a dick, but like. So I just like the name Tiberius. I liked how it sounded, and so I had it as like a name when I was like gaming, like back when I was like a teenager. I would use Tiberius as just like a gaming handle, and then when I started using it as a hacker name, I just put a 3 there because I was like, every good hacker name has to have a number in it somewhere. So
We need some
like,
leet speak.
there you go. I'll change the E to a 3, and we'll be good. But yeah, honestly, it's literally just because I liked them how it sounded.
Fair
That's
enough.
good.
That's more than enough. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
So, final question before we officially close out. Do you have any projects or anything upcoming that you want to talk about?
Other than my streaming stuff, yeah, I'm getting back into like YouTube video creation. But yeah, it's mostly just like the live streams. I'm trying to build up my my platform. I have a web application course that I've been working on for too long that I'm trying to wrap up. So that'll be hopefully released soon. Maybe by the time this comes out, it'll be released. I don't know. Probably not, but yeah, it's a web app course, so it's aimed at beginners and intermediate level stuff. It should be hopefully better than any web app course that's currently out there. That's like the goal. That's honestly why it's been taking a while. But other than that, yeah, not much. Just the regular streams. I stream on Twitch. Actually, I stream on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Kick. simultaneously. So usually every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern as well. So that's what I'm doing.
Right on.
I have nothing. He has answered all of the questions and then some. So thank you for coming here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It was great. I had a great time.
Awesome. Me too. Thank you so much. I guess we are gone for the day. For any of our listeners who are here, who are interested in
Can I say thank you?
I tried to give you that.
Okay.
We passed that now.
Thank you.
We somewhere else.
Thank you so much. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you are here with us virtually. Endless gratitude. We genuinely appreciate it. Like, seriously, we know time is currency, so we hope this was well spent. Ooh, that was new. All right, continue.
This is why we need Twitch. We should just be doing this live so you can. And to our listeners, our viewers, if you're interested in learning more about our guests, let me make sure, are you okay with connecting with some of our listeners or our viewers if they have questions or follow-ups for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, great. We will put a social up for you, and then we will make a point to share some of the resources we've talked about here today. Guess we'll see you next time.